The movie opens with FBI agent Tim and his team keeping an eye on a jewelry store as they discover that there is going to be a robbery. On the other hand, we see Will and Vincent along with their team members Riley, the getaway driver, and Hoyt, the computer security expert, coming together to carry out the theft. Upon arriving at the jewelry shop, they are spotted by Tim on the CCTV camera, but he decides not to apprehend them immediately. Instead, he opts to wait and catch them in the act of stealing. Will and Vincent go to the toy store and they break the wall of the toy store and reach the bank through the tunnel. Tim and his team reach the jewelry store to catch them all, but they are not there. Tim sends his agents to the toy store to inquire. The agents tell Tim that the wall of the toy store is broken and there is also a tunnel. Tim realizes that they're going to steal the bank and he rushes towards the bank. Will opens the vault and they both go inside the vault. Will fills 10 million in the bag. Tim reaches the bank and they break the door of the bank and enter the bank. Vincent sees a lot of gold there, and greed wakes up in his mind and he tries to steal the gold too, but Will does not agree. When Tim reaches the vault, Will and Vincent have stolen money from the vault and left. While leaving the bank, they are spotted by a cleaner. Vincent tries to kill the cleaner because he saw his face, but Will stops him from doing so, leading to a fight between the two. During the fight, Vincent gets shot in the leg and Will drags him into the car, but he forgot to take the money. So he goes back to retrieve it. Will picked up the money and ran back to the car, but Hoyt left him there and ran away, fearing the police. 2 police officers try to catch Will. Will beats up the 2 police officers and tries to run away with their car. Will is surrounded by the police. He sees a picture of his daughter, Allison, whom he loves very much, and then he takes out the money from the car and surrenders himself to the FBI. The FBI agents cannot find the money stolen from the bank, so they arrest him. 8 years later, Will is released from jail. On the way, he buys a teddy bear for his daughter. Meanwhile, Tim meets Will and asks him about the stolen money from the bank, but he tells him that he does not have the money. Tim informs Will that Vincent is no longer in this world. He died some time ago. Will is very sad to learn of Vincent's death as he was his very good friend. Will meets his daughter, Allison, but Allison is not happy to see him. Allison gives him an envelope that someone had sent for him. Will brings Allison to the restaurant and apologizes to her, saying, "I have changed now. I have left all those bad jobs." Allison storms out of the restaurant and takes a taxi to the hospital. Will meets Riley, who now works as a bartender in a bar. At the same time, the phone rings from inside the envelope. Will takes out the phone from the envelope and answers the call. Vincent is on the phone and says to Will, "Your daughter is in my taxi. If you don't give me 5 million for my share, I will kill your daughter." Will tells Vincent that I burned that money to reduce the jail sentence. But Vincent doesn't believe him. To save his daughter, Will lies to Vincent that he has kept all the money with his lawyer and he has to go to Tuscaloosa to collect the money from his lawyer. Vincent gives Will 12 hours and tells him to always keep the phone on, and when I call, you must answer my call, otherwise I will kill your daughter. Will rushes to the railway station and buys a new phone there. Then he gets inside the train going to Tuscaloosa and puts the phone in the train and forwards the call and gets out of the train. Will goes to FBI headquarters and meets Tim and tells him that Vincent is alive and has kidnapped my daughter. Will asks Tim for help, but Tim doesn't believe him, and he tells Agent Fletcher to leave him out. In the elevator, Will attacks the 2 agents and knocks them unconscious and takes Fletcher's ID. Will extracts the details of Vincent and Hoyt from the FBI computer and manages to sneak out of the FBI headquarters. Will goes to Hoyt's house and takes him at gunpoint asking, "Where is my daughter?" Hoyt tells him, "Your daughter is locked in the trunk of Vincent's taxi." Hoyt attacks Will, and a fierce fight ensues between them. Meanwhile, Tim also reaches there with his team and shoots Hoyt, but Will manages to escape from them. Will violently sat in the taxi and took the taxi driver at gunpoint, telling him to call his boss and inquire if a lame driver is employed by the company. The taxi driver contacts his boss and inquires about the lame driver. The boss provides the location of Vincent's taxi and taxi number as well. Tim finds out that Will had called the taxi company. Then he goes to the taxi company and meets the owner and asks him for the license of the lame driver. The owner of the taxi company shows Tim the license of the lame driver, and that lame driver is none other than Vincent. Will finds the taxi, but there is someone else in it. Will opens the taxi trunk and finds the GPS belonging to Vincent's taxi. Meanwhile, FBI agents reach there and arrest Will. Vincent calls Will. Will tells these FBI agents that, "Let me pick up the call, he has my daughter. If I don't pick up the call, he will kill my daughter." They do not believe Will. Then Will attacks them, due to which the car crashes, and Will manages to run away from them again. Will meets Riley and tells her that Vincent has kidnapped my daughter. If I don't give him money, he will kill my daughter. Will asks Riley for help and convinces her to steal the bank. Tim tells Fletcher that Will needs a lot of money to redeem his daughter, which Will does not have. He will definitely steal from the bank. Tim asks Fletcher to get the details of all the banks in which he has stolen. Will picks up his belongings and reaches the bank through the tunnel. Will breaks the wall of the bank and melts the gold with a burning rod, takes the gold according to his needs, and runs away from there. Tim reaches the bank, but by then the bank has already been stolen. Tim extracts the complete data of Vincent, where he went, and they find out that he went to the fair most. They find out that Vincent is going to meet him at the fair place. Will calls Vincent and tells him that, "I've got money. Tell me where to come." Vincent asks him to come to the fair place. Will brings money to him and asks him, "Where is my daughter?" Then Vincent tries to set fire to the taxi. Will tries to stop him, but Vincent shoots him in the stomach and also sets the taxi on fire. Will sits in the taxi and throws the taxi into the water. Will gets out of the taxi and tries to get his daughter out. Meanwhile, Vincent attacks him. Will kills him and opens the trunk of the car and takes out his daughter. Meanwhile, Tim also reaches there, and they take Will to the hospital in a helicopter. A few days later, Will, Riley, and Allison are enjoying themselves by the sea. Tim is also keeping an eye on them. Will has a gold stone in his hand, and he throws the gold stone into the river. Tim also sees all this and does not catch him, and the movie ends here.